All right, people. Now let's take a look at chapter 11.1. Chapter 11.1, we talk about conduction. So when we talk about conductions, I believe you guys will have a basic understanding in terms of what is exactly a conduction. And when we talk about conduction here, we are talking about thermal energy transfer. It means that we are talking about heat transfer, not the electricity transfer. Yeah. So the first thing that you guys would need to know is something we call it as a thermal conduction. So what is basically a thermal conduction? A thermal conduction here is referred to the transfer of thermal energy by the vibration of molecule. If you want me to write it in short form, basically is transfer thermal energy through vibration of molecule. That is the first term that you guys need to know in terms of a thermal conduction. So basically, it's the energy transfer between the two objects. Yeah, that's what we call it as a thermal conduction. And in terms of conduction, we know that we can differentiate into two different kinds of stuff. Either it can be a conductor or it can be a insulator. Yes. So we know that we will have a conductor versus an insulator. So what makes a difference between a conductor and an insulator? A conductor, it means that something that they will transfer heat across. An insulator, it means that it will not transfer heat. I don't use the word at all, I use the word easily. It means that compared to a conductor and an insulator, of course, the conductor will transfer the heat faster, the insulator will transfer the heat slower. That is what we call it as a thermal conductor and a thermal insulator. So what are the examples of a thermal conductor and thermal insulator that you need to know is, I'll give you a sequence down, then I'll explain to you each and individual. You will see some things like we call it as a diamond. And then there will be, yeah, I think let me use the right side. Okay, there will be, start with diamond, followed by silver, copper, and then followed by aluminium, steel, then there will be lead, ice, or glass, and then polyethylene nylon, then rubber or wood, and then polystyrene, then the last one is a glass wood. I think I use the glass wool or wool. Either it's a glass, they can call it as either the glass wool or the wool. I mean, actually page 195. Okay, so what I want you to know here is that there will be two things or two terms. Before I go into here, there are two terms that you need to always remember. Number one, we call that as a emitter. I'll explain to you what is an emitter. You learn this in like one individual subtopic, but it's better for me to show you what is this first. So there will be something we call it as a, let me start with absorber. And then there will be something we call it as an emitter. Emitter. And then the last one we call that as a reflector. So what is the meaning of absorber, emitter, and a reflector? Very simple. Think of it this way. Absorber, it means that they absorb the heat. We call that as an absorber. How easily they absorb the heat. Then followed by emitter, how easily they release the heat. You can think of it like release the heat, or you can think of it like radiates the heat. There will be another name that's used. Reflect. Yes, you can say it's emitted, no problem. And then the reflector, it will be the one that reflect the heat. Okay, so each of this, right, there is a specific terms that they use. This one, yes, they call it absorber, emitter, and reflector, but main things that they compare with three things. This will be the extra things that I will talk about. But what they will compare the three main things is, number one is black, number two is white, number three is silver. Or let me just don't use the word silver. I use the word shiny surface. I will teach you here first, then later whenever we go to subtopic, then you learn it better. So when we talk about any things that I believe you have experienced, when you get into a dark color car, especially under the hot sun, how do you feel? You feel it's very stuffy, it's very, very hot. But the white color car, yes, you still feel hot as well. But which one releases the heat faster? We know that the black color, it's always the one release the heat faster. What I want you to think about is any things that they are good in absorbing heat, they are also good in releasing heat. So, a good example with black will be easy to absorb it and also easy to release heat. When you compare black and white, black is easy, absorb, and release. Okay? Whereas white, it's harder to absorb and release. That's where they compare between the two. Whereas shiny surface, it's a very good reflector. Good reflector. So this will be the three components that you need to know. But how is this included in the conductor? Because conductor, we talk about how they contact so that they transfer heat from one part to the other part. That is where we conductor. So whenever we talk about conductor into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this 8 component, as you go from top to bottom, two things is changing. Number one is the how should I? Okay, so we can say that glass wool is the best insulator. It means that is it easy to transfer heat or harder to transfer heat? Yes, it's harder to transfer heat, therefore cause the best insulator. Whereas diamond, we call that as a best conductor. So they go in opposite. If this is the best conductor, it means that it's the least insulator. It's the worst insulator. If this is the best insulator, it means that it's the worst conductor. So they go opposite directions. Yeah. So this will be the sequence that you guys need to know in terms of the conduction. Yes.
Is that why it takes longer to heat up?
No. Conductor is referred to only transfer heat. It's not about melting. If you talk about melting, then we have to bring in the melting point in. But in here, we don't talk about melting point. We just talk about how easily they transfer the energy on. Yeah. So this will be the best conductor. This will be the best insulator. But now the next questions come in is that how do they conduct heat or how do they transfer heat based on the situations? It's because one keyword you can see here, I will give you the first point that materials can be a good or poor thermal conductor. Metals are good thermal conductor as they are free moving or delocalized electrons to assist heat transfer through the vibrations or collisions within each other. Keyword here is free moving electron, or sometimes we call it as the localized electron. Because whenever there is a free moving electron and delocalized electron, it's easy for it to hit it through the vibration. Therefore, this is the keyword that they're asking. So if they are asking us whether it is a good good absorber or good emitter, it's based on always based on we call it as a free moving electron. Whenever there is a free moving electron, then we can say that it is a good conductor. Whenever there is no free moving electron, then we call it as a worst conductor. So this is the key things that to conduct all the heats around in whichever way. Okay, so this will be the first part that we talk about conduction. Of course, we'll look into details about these these three components one by one as we progress. Okay, anything to clarify with?
It has delocalized electrons makes it a good conductor.
Yes, you're right. So whenever there is a delocalized electron, it's transferred heat easily.
In the exam, they'll ask you why.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So if there's no questions, I will stop recording, take a photo and send in. Jackie, okay, are you following so far?
Yes.
Okay.